Welcome, brothers and sisters. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Hello,
Hello.
this is my friend Fleming. He's actually Danish and he's going to help us with our comment on the governing body update for, is it for June or is it just number 4 for 2022? So tell us something about yourself. You used to be Jehovah Witness and now you're evil apostate from Denmark.
I'm very evil. My name is Frank Fleming Jensen, and I have been a Jehovah's Witness for around almost 28 years. And I was an elder, and I was in Bolivia preaching, and I was a lightning ball inside Jehovah's Witness community in Denmark, and everybody said, "Oh, it's Frank Fleming." And then I found out after many years of doubt that is not the truth. It's actually the lie. So I resigned as an elder, and I resigned as a Jehovah's Witness. And as you probably can guess, I lost everything, including my marriage. And then I did not have anything to do with Jehovah's Witnesses for about almost over 20 years. I didn't want to speak with former Jehovah's Witnesses. I just want to build up my own life. And then for about 3 years ago, I decided to make a podcast about Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's in Danish, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's called Udstødt. I actually have this t-shirt. And Udstødt is a Danish name for disfellowshipped.
Disfellowship, yeah.
And
cast out. It literally means cast out.
A cast out, exactly.
That's the Scandinavian word for disfellowshipped. And if you look at him, look at how beautiful man in a beautiful studio. My colors are. He has to teach me something. But having a YouTube channel in a small language, because cults are small and ex-cult communities are even smaller. So what this guy is doing is that he's doing interviews, and that's a good way of creating content without too much work.
And still,
would you agree with that?
I agree with that. And during the pandemic, and I had a lot of time, so every week I had a new podcast with a new guest, and I think I made about 140 episodes of Udstødt. And most of them are with former Jehovah's Witnesses, but I also had former Mormons and Scientologists and other minor religions, but mostly it's about Jehovah's Witnesses because that's where I am an expert.
Are you looking forward to the JW governing body update for
I love it.
This month?
I love to see the governing body. And I love to see also because, as you know, also when you go more than 20, 25, 30 years ago, nobody actually knew about the governing body. We knew some names, Brother Noel and Brother Franz and Brother Henschel, and nobody else. It was just kind of a mystery. And then from 2014, they made this JW broadcast, and it's totally a different way to be a Jehovah's Witness today. Now they're superstars. Yeah. And they are performing like that, and everybody, I want to have a selfie with one from the governing body. And I think it's very interesting to follow it as from a helicopter perspective, to see it from upside down, how much they have changed. But it's still the same, it's the old wine, but in new bottles.
Yeah. I know they more and more use the governing body as a synonym or interchangeable word to Jehovah.
It is.
Like we're going to see Mark Sanderson, he's literally fingering the Ukrainian brotherhood. And then they refer to this as a gift from Jehovah. Well, you show Mark Sanderson, every clip is with Mark Sanderson, and then it's a gift from Jehovah, his visit. Or show the love. Let's play the first clips. Let's see her.
In late April, Brother Mark Sanderson traveled to Poland to encourage the brothers and sisters affected by the ongoing war in Ukraine. Over 250,000 from Poland, Ukraine, and the Donbass region tied in for the program. One circuit overseer in the Donbass region wrote, "It was a wonderful program and food at the proper time. It brings tears of joy to see how Jehovah loves us.
Yeah, I just want to show it. It's
Nice.
weird. This the mask. They're having mask. We don't need masks any longer. But as soon as there's government body member present, you need mask. And I call him the masked hugger because
The
how
mask-
does this work as social distancing?
It was
Kiss ass.
Yeah, this is something else. The next segment I called Brother Kisaski. But what's your comment on this?
First of all, I think it's interesting because a lot of the worldly leaders, including our own Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, she actually went to Ukraine, to the country. And Mark Sanderson also commented in his speech in Poland that he was advised from the other governing body members not to go to Ukraine. It was too dangerous. So that's interesting because other world leaders traveled to Ukraine, but he was not allowed by the other 7 members to go to Ukraine. So he went to the neighbor country, to Poland, to speak. And it's like, wow, he went there and it was live broadcasting. He could just as well been in New York to speak. Why did he have to go to Poland? It's just a publicity trick.
It's very much a publicity stunt, but it's kind of weird. I think okay, so the mask thing is good. I think it's a good thing they took the pandemic serious. But basically, they were telling people that, like, this is it. This is the last days of the last days of the last days. Undoubtedly, the final part of the final part of the last days of the last days of the last days. Just seconds before the last days of the last day. It was.
Yes.
And you remember when they would always say that, like, we should go to our inner room, our inner sanctuary. So when they went home from the meetings, this is it. We'll never go back to the Kingdom Hall, and there will be Armageddon. And now they have to go back to the Kingdom Hall. So I see what they're doing here, because deep inside, all Jehovah Witnesses know the meetings are boring.
It is.
We were given the impression that, no more meetings and there will be an Armageddon. And now you have to go back to the boring meetings. So what they do here, they use this comparison fallacy that human beings have. They talk about prison sentences for 20 minutes. And then they mentioned, by the way, good news, you are supposed to go back to the meetings. And you're like, well, it's better than prison.
It is. And another interesting thing is that in Denmark, you can actually see it on the JW.org, breaking news that the Jehovah's Witnesses are now allowed to go out preaching, but not from door to door. And that's interesting. You are allowed to go to the Kingdom Halls, go to the meeting. You're allowed to go out preaching by the witness cards, but you're not allowed to go preaching from door to door. And that's strange. Why not?
Well, obviously that should be a matter of personal freedom or conscience matter or anything. They are really taking control over people. Literally, if the Good Samaritan would be one of Jehovah Witness, he would have to ask the elders if he could do a good deed. Well, in that case, the Good Samaritan was actually an apostate who helped.
He would be a bad Samaritan if he were Jehovah's Witness.
But they quote. They always quote someone that says the one wonderful convention circuit overseer, and now they say man in Donbass. So it's quite concrete. It might be 1 or 2. And normally, when watchtowers say a circuit overseer from a country in Africa said, "We love the governing body is great," then the governing body wrote it themselves because it's no one specific. But to say the circuit overseer in Donbass wrote, then it's quite specific, so it might be true. And we don't know his name, and since he's Russian, I call him, well, Russian-speaking in Donbass, not Russian, but Russian-speaking. I call him Brother Kisaski. But listen just to what he say here, Brother Kisaski.
It was a wonderful program and food at the proper time. It brings tears of joy to see how Jehovah loves us.
Yeah.
The sound is good, but there were no image. Doesn't
No, I
matter.
took away the image, so we will listen to
Okay.
the sound. It's
I,
tears
I,
of joy.
I heard you saying a circuit overseer who was a dumbass, not from Dumbass. Did I hear
No,
something?
dumb
Okay,
bass.
a dumbass. Okay.
That's why Putin thinks he can invade it. You know, he doesn't speak good English, so when he hears Crimea and Donbass, he thinks it's named after him.
Dumbass.
But
Oh,
anyway,
that's
do you
funny.
think that a circuit overseer actually wrote that?
Well, being a Jehovah's Witness for so many years, and comments from the readers in the Watchtower, you always felt, even as a Jehovah's Witness, that was not a comment from a rank and file Jehovah's Witness. That was a person from the Bethel in New York writing that question. It was always, even from young people, ask. No young people, no youngsters ask in that way. So I think it could be him, but it could also be totally scripted, everything.
Yeah, but when you have an organization that's basically dictatorship, it's the dictator trap, like Putin. You only surround yourself with people that say yes, people that suck up to you, people that say, "Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful provision! It's a loving arrangement. We're moved to tears when we see the love from Jehovah." People that talk like that will go up in the organization.
I was
And
one of
this
them.
just reinforce itself, because normally when Watchtower goes to specific, like a circuit overseer from Donbass, it might actually be true. And that would, in that case, show what's wrong with the organization, because the way that you grow, get up in the organization, make a career, is by kissing butt.
You're actually talking about me right now, Jonas. I don't like that kind of talk, but you're totally
you were
right.
an elder. I was never an elder.
I was. I don't feel like I was kissing up, but I did what was told, and I like that recognition. I like that people clapping and tapping my shoulder and saying, "You're a good elder, Frank." And I just loved. I sucked it in, and there was a big part of my life. But deep inside, at the last 3 years, especially after I was appointed as an elder, I got more and more doubts. But I like that love bombing from the other brothers. I have to admit that.
I did everything, and I knew all the rules, and I read all the Bibles and all of that, and I was pioneer for 10 years without being a ministerial servant.
Oh,
I got some super stickers here. Thank you.
super
And
sticker.
thank you. This is a donation so Jonas can get a robot. Oh, what kind of robot? A milking robot. I don't have milk cows, milk goats.
But Jonas, why do you think that you were not appointed as an elder, even though you were 10 years pioneering?
Yeah, that's interesting, because when you have a penis and you're a pioneer, then you are good enough to be a ministerial servant, because if you can't be ministerial servant, then you can't be a pioneer. The rules are the same. So I think there were some brothers that were assholes, just holding me back, because then they had power. As long as I was willing to jump through hoops, why should they give me what I wanted, But then also I was a free thinker. I was doing all the rules, but my mental capacity was always there. I always had an explanation, and I could say this rule is blah 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 blah, but we should follow it because. So I could make an argument why we would follow the rule. And I remember elders were looking at me like, "Do you know why you're following the rules?" Yes, and they're like, that's enough to scare them away. So now we have Tyler, and finally, hello, Tyler.
Hello, Tyler. Oh,
can you hear us?
Let me get off mute there. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're doing fine.
Good.
Living in Agony, waiting for Armageddon, as all apostates do.
It's just around the corner. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay, so let's play the next clip here.
Truly, this visit was a warm expression of Jehovah's love for his people. We sincerely thank all of you for your prayers and generous donations that make the relief work possible.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think that Jehovah's Witnesses are watching this and they think they are the only religion in the world being loving towards their own members. And it's so crazy. You can see all denominations, all Christians, or even Muslims helping their own. Of course they do that. It's not a big deal, this one. And I think if you're Jehovah's Witnesses, you know about Jesus saying you have to show love, not only towards your own people, but also to the people you hate, the tax collectors and all that. And he says directly, Jesus, not that I'm a Christian today, so don't be spooked. But he says directly that if you only show love towards your own, what kind of person are you then? So I think that the real love towards your neighbor is not only helping from your own community, but also from other communities. And I know from my own country, from Denmark, there are a lot of people who have on their own traveled to Ukraine, helping refugees, helping them to Denmark and giving them a place to live and so on. And I thought when I read that in newspapers, that is real love towards your neighbor. So they're making a big fuss out of that, and that's okay, but they're not helping Catholics, what to call it? Catholics? No.
Catholics?
No matter what. Catholics, little. And people,
Person
other
with
Christians.
too many cats is called a cataholic.
Catholics. So it's not a big deal. It's okay. It's good. Of course you would do that. I think even among political parties, socialists are helping each other socialists from other countries. In this case, Ukraine. So Jehovah's Witnesses make it look like they're the only people showing real Christian love, but it's not real Christian love. Only showing and helping their own members.
What do you say, Tyler?
I agree 100%. And I apologize if it's already been mentioned, but kind of piggybacking on what Frank had to say there. Recently, I think even just this past week, there was a letter released telling individual members, don't send things to Ukraine. Don't reach out and help other people. There we go. So again, I apologize if that was already mentioned. Kind of late in the game bringing it in. But
that's why I have it here.
Yeah. So when I read that, it's one of those things that we saw that all the time when we were still in, and we never thought anything of it. Oh yeah, they'll handle it, and they're going to do the best possible use of those funds. And so, but now looking at it on the other side, seeing how controlling and manipulative it is, and how really they're just fleecing the flock. So yeah, it's their take on relief efforts is definitely something that leaves a lot to be desired.
Let's read it. It says, please do not make private arrangement to send relief supplies to the brothers in need. So basically, how can they? Okay, it's so weird to tell Christians not to do good, but then it says, instead of sending relief supplies, you may contribute to the worldwide work, such as by donatejw.org. So they're basically saying, if you want to give money to the people in Ukraine, give it to us.
Yeah,
that's literally what they're saying.
Yeah, and one
so
thing
if I from the godness of my heart, because you would be surprised how nice people can be. When things like this happen, some people just sell their house and want to give to the people of Ukraine. And if a Jehovah, like giving $1 million, people do stuff like that where in situations like this. If a Jehovah Witness would give $1 million to donate at jw.org, Watchtower have no, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a lawyer, but they are not, it's not earmarked for Ukraine. Watchtower can use it to build a spa for Bethelites if they want to do that. They can pay lawyers to pay out, secret database and all. I think this is borderline immoral stealing what they do. If I tell you that if you want to send money to Ukraine, give it to me. Period. I will not tell you how I spend the money if I spend the money in Ukraine.
Mm-mm. But is it coming as a surprise for you that they're writing this? Isn't it just another example of how a cult this has been? It's just getting more and more obvious for me after so many years. This is just one example. Yeah.
I had a friend who was the accounts servant a few years ago, and when I actually looked at the account sheet, and when they made the big announcement for the media center that they're building, they said, specifically they set up a box in every congregation for specific donations to that. Then within the instructions to the account servant, everything gets counted, put in one column, and shipped out. There's nothing earmarked for that on the account sheet. I looked over it myself, and that was one of the things that he looked at, and he kind of questioned, thought that was kind of odd. So, and I'm kind of on the same page with you, John. I have a feeling if they are getting, charitable status, if things are specifically earmarked for that, I think that could actually be potential legal issues. Again, I'm not a lawyer either, but it definitely seems at the very least immoral that they are specifically telling the congregation, put things for that in this box, and then telling the account servant, it doesn't really matter. Just put it all together and add it up and send it in.
I think, okay, I'm not a lawyer and we're talking about different legislations, but, if I ask for a donation now because I want to buy a robot, I'm kind of supposed to buy a robot. Can someone please explain to me why I need a robot in the price range of $20? No offense. I'm just curious. What robot are we talking about here? But it would be easy with this Ukrainian. You said, don't send money to Ukraine, give it to us. Just have a sentence to say that we will distribute this as we see fit.
I just
say, if you want to give money to Ukraine, don't do what Christ told you to do. Give it to us. And
how would you feel?
Obligation how they will use the money.
And Jonas, how would you feel that if you were Jehovah's Witness, you have been to an international convention in Poland or whatever, and you got to know some people some brothers from Ukraine, maybe you've been traveling there and you have been writing to them, you're close friends, and then you get to know, even though you know them personally, you're not allowed to send them money. It has to go through the organization. How would you feel in your heart? It would be very strange. And they're asking for help maybe directly, and you have to write back, I would like to send you money, but I'm not allowed to. I have to donate it to JW.
It sounds like the lamest excuse ever.
It is. It's very strange. I would feel strange if I had this message and I actually knew some brothers in Ukraine.
Yeah, it's super weird.
It is. Everything
especially in the age of everything being digital, and like you mentioned, if you have personal friends there, I could within moments transfer them $100, $1,000, something like that to help them out immediately. So why do I have to put it in the box and let it get counted and then shipped? And just completely ineffective.
This is Dennis.
Dennis.
So just notice he's a superstar, and this is very scripted, I think, because he's been 5 years in jail. But his wife is in the background. He's not walking with his very loyal wife, I must say. She spent 5 years waiting for him. But in this very scripted thing, she's in the background all the time. That's his wife.
Where? Oh,
so this
hugging?
is the man that spent 5 years in jail, and this is the woman that she's allowed to be present. She's a helper from Jehovah, made of bacon, or correct me if I'm wrong. But this is the superstar.
He is.
Today is a happy day. A happy day because I at least got free from the prison, and I came home to Copenhagen, Denmark, where I can again be together with my friends and my beloved family. All these thoughts, all these letters, all these prayers, all the drawings and other gifts that I got from the children has encouraged me a lot. And through all this, I have always felt that I was not alone, that Jehovah's hand was never too short.
Wow.
Well, at least we know that Jehovah is not a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Why?
He's got long arms. His arm's not short.
Yeah. That's actually proof of evolution, because the one with long arms, they would masturbate and they died out.
No. Stop,
But the one
Jonas.
with short arms could not masturbate, so they had to go out and fornicate, and that's why.
You're crazy, man.
That's my theory.
Did you wonder why he's still wearing his prison suit?
Yeah.
PR.
It is PR, of course it is.
It's propaganda.
Oh, it's good propaganda. He's a good martyr.
Well,
Yes.
and
Yeah, he's a good martyr.
it's been termed like persecution porn, is what people have referred to it as, and it does. It pulls at the emotional side of you and goes, "Oh, he spent this many years in prison and feels so bad for him." Yeah, he didn't have to.
Yeah. And now he's happy to come home to his loving family. Do you have any comments on that, since you're Danish?
Since I'm Danish, and I don't know, I never met him personally, but actually I had some guests in my podcast who were friends with him in congregation outside Copenhagen, and he says they say that of course he's a great guy, and I think he is.
Yeah.
A lot of good guys in Jehovah's Witness community, so no doubt about it. He's a good Jehovah's Witness, and
He's a good guy, basically.
he is a good guy. I think
He's a
so.
good guy.
Actually, I think so. And I think it's good that he got off the hook and so on. And we can talk a lot about his being a martyr and how the organization is using him. And we all know that. But deep inside, I think he's an okay guy. But it's very strange that he mentions that he's happy to be back in Copenhagen to see friends and family. If I were a journalist, I would ask him directly, does that include your mother?
Yeah.
Because actually, as a lot of people don't know, that Dennis Christensen's mother were disfellowshipped in 1992. And what were her fault? Was it fornication? No. Was it smoking? No. It was actually because she said directly to the elders in her congregation, I do not believe that it's correct to refuse blood transfusion. If I were in a situation where I needed blood, in a trauma situation, I would say, yes, I would accept it. And the same goes for my child, Dennis also. And when she said that publicly to the elders, it was like, it was not officially that she was disfellowship, but from the elders book, that if you don't accept this blood issue, she had cut off herself. I don't know the English term, but she wrote like, she has disassociated herself. It's actually 100% the same as being disfellowshipped. So since then, including Dennis, she haven't seen her children, and she got divorced and so on. And her only fault was to say directly, I do not believe that we are not allowed to take blood, and blood transfusion were not an issue in the time of the Bible and so on. So for all these years, he haven't seen his mother, and we are talking about 30, 35 years. So for her, and she has been in the Danish newspapers in 1994, and then again in 2019, telling her story, like how Jehovah's Witnesses cult has totally ripped off all her connections to her family, and she knows that Dennis has been in prison. She would like to see him, but he will not see her because of her thoughts about blood transfusion. That's the real story behind his mother. So standing there in Copenhagen airport and saying, "Oh, I'd like to see my family again," I would have asked, if I were a journalist, does that include your mother?
Yeah. What do you say, Tyler? Do you agree with me that a lot of believing Jehovah Witnesses are not carrying their blood card because they don't really believe in the blood doctrine?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I would love to see some numbers on that. I suspect you're probably right. I have talked to ones that, they just don't buy that. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. And especially ones that are parents. A lot of parents, I have a feeling, would take exception to that. I certainly did. That was one of the things that was one of the reasons that I gave my ex-wife when I was leaving. I don't believe in this. I would not let our children die. And she did reaffirm it actually to me that it would be okay because Jehovah will bring them back better. But overall, yeah, I think there are a lot that have issue with that part of the doctrine.
Jonas, where do you have some proof about that? Or did you hear from other brothers not having that?
The general vibe when you talk about blood fractions, I was PMO for 14 years, so I know how to talk with witnesses. And like you ask them about what do you think about blood fractions, and then quite many will say I actually don't have a blood card, or they said I just take everything the society says, but I don't understand it. But a lot of people. You hear they say when they talk about children in Norway, because here it is like if you refuse them a blood transfusion, then the doctor will call a judge, and the judge will temporarily take away the parenthood from the parents, give the child the treatment it need, and then give it back to the parents afterwards. So and you notice when witnesses talk about that, they say, well, it's not a problem because then the government give them blood anyway. And
it's
then
true.
you see it's not really in their heart that they need to protect the child from the terrible blood. They're okay with it. It's a formality. The
It's the same thing in Denmark.
Anyways, it's not a problem. So I spoke to Jehovah and also my ex, and she said this, and I said, and she was a medical professional. She's a witness now still. And I said, okay, let's say if we had a kid and it needs a blood transfusion. He said, it's not a problem. They will give it to it. Yeah, but let's say it's a matter of seconds. So the doctor has to call a judge. A judge had to find pen and pencil, listen to both sides of the story, write, and this takes 45 minutes minimum. And if it's a matter of seconds, what would you do? What would you tell the doctor when I say the kid needs? And she interrupted me because she saw the situation very vivid. And I said, what would you say? She said, call my husband, call my husband, call my husband. Because she knew that I would just give him blood. So she would not wait to let the doctor finish the sentence that the kid needed a blood transfusion. She just blurt out, call my husband, because the apostate would give the blood to the kid. So it's not in their heart. It's a formality.
Because the deep inside don't believe in that doctrine.
No, it's just a formality. So in this case, it was, okay, so it was the apostate saved it. So it was, yeah. I think, well, I obviously have no numbers on this, but I believe a lot of Jehovah Witnesses will take blood transfusion because
I think also, Jonas, it depends on what congregation and what country you grew up in. We are both from Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Iceland, and so on. Maybe the Jehovah's Witnesses there are more different in their mind, I think. Like in the States, in the Bible Belt, in some states, they're more strict and more, let's say, indoctrinated and following all the rules. Or if you go to Japan and other places, so maybe it's I don't know, Tyler, where are you from exactly?
I live.
Okay, sorry.
I live in the U.S. I am in Minnesota.
You're from Minnesota. Okay, yeah, I've been there.
Go Norway.
I just recently moved to the right. A lot of Scandinavian influence here. My podcast co-host, he's 100% Scandinavian as well. So he's got a little bonding there with Jonas. But no, I live in the Twin Cities metro, Minnesota.
I've been there also as a Jehovah's Witness. I know a lot of witnesses in that Petersons. There are many Petersons in Minnesota, but do you recognize what I'm saying, that in Minnesota, the Scandinavian influence and so on, the Jehovah's Witnesses in the congregations are a little more free of mind, like in Alabama?
The congregations that I've been in have mostly been smaller and like rural-based congregations, and then more towards like the metro area where I'm at in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, much more liberal, much more free thinking. Specifically, my co-host, he would talk about things that, he was getting into trouble a little bit when he was a teenager, but nothing compared to what the kids like in this metro area were doing. And so he saw the hypocrisy back then. And so, I do think there is a lot of more free thinking when you get towards more metropolitan areas and in Minnesota. But I do still think when you're in more of those rural areas, very close-minded from my experience.
I always ask witnesses, would you take morphine if a doctor gave it to you? And they say yes, because if a doctor gave it to you, it's not a drug and it's not against. And you could also, if you dare, you could ask a sister the same. As a Jehovah Witness female, would it be okay for you to go to a gynecologist? And they say, well, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. So why can't they take a blood transfusion? There's a lot of things that doctors do that would violate, if you think about it, like having a prostate exam. That should be a disfellowshipping offense. But it's not, because the rules doesn't apply when you do it because of your health. So it doesn't make any sense. But we have to move on with
it's only disfellowshipping if you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Did you say prostitute exam? No. Okay,
Although we're happy about these developments, we keep in mind that around the world, over 150 of our brothers and sisters are in prison for their faith.
Yeah. So 150 of our brothers and sisters are in prison. Does that mean that Jehovah Witnesses are persecuted? I decided to go all John Cedars nerdy here and did some math. If there's 150 out of 8 million, so then I actually removed toddlers from the equation, I think. That means that 0.001% of Jehovah Witnesses are in jail. And if we compare that to United States of America, I checked up, and there they have 0.7% of the population in prison. So Americans are more persecuted by Americans than Jehovah Witnesses are by Satan. It's really a very, very low number, 150 out of 8 million. What do you say, Tyler? You're American, so what do you have to say for yourself?
Unfortunately, most days. But one thing that you kind of touched on there with the numbers, if they are looking at sheer numbers, is we've got 150, and that's proof that we are being persecuted and we have God's backing. There are reports of upwards of 2 to 3 million like Muslims being held in concentration camps in China. So
yeah,
absolutely not. Like, it's complete bullshit. Excuse me. But there's no way that they can claim that level of persecution as being evidence of some sort of divine backing. If that's
150 is a ridiculously low number for 8 million people. I'm not saying it should be higher. I'm just saying we're living on a crappy, supposedly run by Satan planet. And if you're a black person in America, you're 5 times more likely to go to jail than a white person. So basically, according to statistics, no offense to anyone here, I'm just using it as an example, you're more persecuted if you're a Muslim in China or a black person in America.
That's
than if you're a Jehovah Witness. And if Satan was thrown down from heaven in 1914 and you has a short time, and then they went to flea markets. But this guy here, he was sentenced to 7 years in jail, and he got out after 5 because Jehovah's arm is not too short. How does that work? It sounds like Satan was better than Jehovah, or Satan is just really crappy.
He's really crappy. I'm looking at another list. It's called the World Watch List, with the 50 countries in the world where Christians, not Jehovah's Witnesses, Christians in general, are being persecuted. And the headline is 360 million Christians are being persecuted. And it used to be North Korea where the persecution were the largest, but after Taliban has been coming back to Afghanistan, then the most dangerous place on earth to be in as a Christian is in Afghanistan. And just to mention one example, in Nigeria, there were in 2019 5,898 Christians who were killed for being just Christians. So only in Nigeria, we're not talking about persecution and jail and so on. It was people saying, no, I do not want to convert. I'm a proud Christian, whatever kind of Christian they were. They were killed, almost 6,000 in 1 year. And then we have Jehovah's Witnesses on JW.org making martyrs out of 150. And it's not like I'm praising that. I'm totally against it and so on. We can, hopefully we can agree on that. It's not a good thing, but still they're making this fuss about 150 people being in jail for a few years. And then you have the real world outside where people are actually being really persecuted and killed.
Yeah, because when you watch Watchtower propaganda, it's one thing what they say might be true or not true, but you should always listen for what they do not say, what they admit from the, and they never say what Christensen was convicted for. They just say he's persecuted, he's persecuted, he's persecuted. If you see when these brothers were arrested, the police often come into a meeting and they take one of the elders. The rest get to go. And let's say that if he would be convicted for reading the Bible, then Watchtower would show this document and say, look here, he's convicted for reading the Bible. But they never say what he is convicted for. So look at this guy here. You know, for all we know, he might be convicted for stealing this prison uniform. We don't know. We don't get a reference. Look at him here standing with his wife not by his side. Maybe it says Christensen.
Yeah, it does say that.
We don't know what he went to jail for. And we will have 2 interviews with 2 brothers later here. I cut it down, obviously, but they never tell us what they were convicted for. So let's say that he's in the blood police, the hospital liaison committee, and they bullied someone to not accept the blood transfusion. The person died. This is just, I don't know if this is true. I'm just making an argument here. And some unbelieving family complained, you know, it could be that he actually has literal blood on his hand because he's in the hospital liaison committee. It must be something that sounds bad since Watchtower doesn't mention it. If there were something that he was put in prison because he owned the Bible, bang, that would be the headline. But they never, ever tell us what the actual reason why they were sent to prison. So there must be something that make Watchtower look bad and in Russia, to a certain extent, look good, even if I don't agree with Putin in this case.
I don't know. It could be a point. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the official, also from the politicians in Russia, is that, you know, that just a few months before he was arrested, you know, Dennis Christensen came to Russia in about 2002, 2003 as a carpenter to build congregations. So he has been living in, I forgot the name, Oriol, the city of Oriol in Russia for many years. And then they had this ban against Jehovah's Witnesses. It was forbidden to be preaching and so on. And it was he was one of the first being arrested because he was an extremist religion. And you can disagree or you can agree with that. I don't care. But it was because of the law they just made. And then he was one of the first people being arrested, probably because he was a foreigner. So officially, he was an extreme religious person.
Yeah. You know, from our perspective, it's an American religion that comes here and infiltrate our country. And a country with a conscription army Like Russia with a conscription army do not necessarily like an American organization that tell people not to do military service.
True that.
It doesn't
Yeah.
take that much paranoia to. I think it's just a favor to the Orthodox Church that they are illegal. But
It's true.
what do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting thought. Wondering why he was convicted. I can't disagree with your logic. Again, I don't know whether I would agree with that or not. I can definitely see where you're going with that, though. I think it's a compelling argument for sure.
But if he was, because there must be something that he was convicted for, because it's not illegal to be a Jehovah Witness. Because
Correct.
then they would arrest the whole congregation. So
Right.
There must have been something he did, and if it documented says something more than that he is a Jehovah Witness.
Yeah.
So if it would be
distributing
something that
Bibles or
make Watchtower look like victims, we would have known it by now.
Sure.
That's my point.
Mhm.
That's definitely a compelling argument. I can see where you're going with that.
Yeah, but still, if you read the original documents, they are using the argument that now it's against the law, and he has been out as a carpenter building congregations or kingdom halls and so on, and that's the official argument from the Russian authorities. He's an extremist, and I think because he was from Denmark and who is a foreigner. They just want to point out an example, even though other brothers from Russia has been in jail.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting to know. But when Watchtower don't say anything, they're normally hiding something.
It's true that.
Let's see. So let's see their faith here. I cut it down. So I don't want to make fun of them, because these people, I feel sorry for them, but you can't help to see the witnessy way they behave. Like, I was put in jail, and the worst thing who should I preach to,
I think he's the happiest man in the world. I think he's a real martyr now. He's a big hero. I think in his mind, it was all worth it to be in jail for 5 years. Now he's going to New York. He's being promoted. He's going to meet the governing body members and so on. He's going to be a hotshot and a good example and mentioned and so on. So I think he's a happy man.
Yeah, imagine if he was single to go to the convention now as a single man.
That guy would clean up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's married.
Let's see her.
The most difficult part of all the persecution was being in the pressure cell. The first thing I heard was the word, "Get down on your knees," but I told them that the only person I went down on my knees for was God.
Then after several months in the detention center, they put me into a solitary confinement cell. I was worried about who I would preach to. A few days later, a man was placed in the cell next to mine. Every day, several hours. I sang kingdom songs to him.
Yeah, isn't that cruel and unusual punishment? To put someone in solitary confinement next to a Jehovah Witness that's singing kingdom melodies for hours and hours and hours.
And the biggest problem is going to solitary. Who is he going to preach for? No, you're an evil man. But I like that sentence. Imagine, Tyler, in Minnesota, that you are being stopped by the traffic police and they are suspicious and so on, and they order you out and they say, go down on your knees as a Jehovah's Witnesses. Can you imagine? And Jehovah's Witnesses says, no, the only person I go down on the knees for Jehovah. It's strange.
But I have been in that situation.
You have?
And I sat down peacefully. That was a long story, but a few years back, I had that interaction with the police. They didn't tell me to get down on my knees. They just told me to sit on the curb. So we did.
Yeah.
I would like to hear that story another time, Tyler. Stay tuned after that.
Anyway, it's kind of a sexual innuendo in what he said.
Yeah, I thought that
I only go down on
especially when they're talking about in prison and things get lonely, and I don't know. I'm not buying it.
But I've been working with construction in Russia for Russian Bethel, and I've been around in field service, and it's actually true. Imagine you build solitary confinement, but you can still talk through the wall and you can hear each other. That's Russia. I'm not kidding. They are very flexible when it comes to quality of construction. If you have a flat, you can hear the neighbors on all sides. No offense if there are any Russian watching this, but they probably know it.
Maybe you actually met Dennis Christensen, Jonas.
I might have done that, but
you might have.
I might have done that in Russia. He seems like a nice fellow, but on the other hand, he's Danish, and I'm not. And I was hanging with Finnish brothers, not Danish.
No,
because the Danish are normally bricklayers, and I'm a sheet metal worker, and sheet metal workers hate bricklayers, and vice versa. I don't know why. They started it probably at one point, but so I might have met him when I was working in Sollefteå.
He was a carpenter.
Yeah, I hope he'll leave the cult. It would be so much fun to go with him on a protest. And
not him. He's never gonna leave. Never.
You don't know.
Nah.
Let's see what's happening in Jehovah land here.
Almost every day, I pray to Jehovah that my friend and brother Vadim would be transferred to that cell.
And they took me out to a different block, took me into a cell, and I heard Sergei's voice in the next cell through the wall saying, "Vadim, is that you?" I said, "Yes, it's me." And he said, "Oh, that's wonderful. I begged Jehovah for you." And when I heard that he begged for me to be moved to the next cell, I was quite angry because my return visits had been messed up.
My return visit has been made.
Yeah.
I could not fill out on the report so many hours that month. Oh, that was a bummer.
Why did you ask Jehovah for that when you knew that anything we ask for will be fulfilled except leaving the prison?
Yeah. And you're right about the walls, Jonas. They actually could speak through the walls. Russian builders,
It's weird. I will not tell you all the stories I know because then YouTube will call me racist. I love Russia, by the way. I absolutely love the culture, the people, everything, and the language. That's why I speak it. It's wonderful people. But I think the reason why I so much like the Russians is because they are very much like the Jehovah Witnesses. They are good people, but they're in a cult. And they don't know that they're in a cult. When you speak to Russians, they say often things like this, that democracy wouldn't work here because we're too many. We need a strong leader. If you ask them about the war in the Ukraine, they say, well, I can talk about this. I'm not a politician. Only politicians can take such a good decision. If you're not a politician, you should not talk about politics. It sounds exactly like if you talk about the Jehovah Witnesses about this fellowship and they say, well, I'm not an elder. I wasn't present in that room. I heard many say that, well, in Russia, we have one good politician, so we should listen to him. Like intelligent people saying stuff like that. So they're very much like the Jehovah Witnesses. They're kind of cult members, and I think that's why I identify so much with them. They're, salt of the earth, the people.
Salt of the world.
Yeah, they're really nice people.
Sounds like about half of the U.S. as well. Dealing with that, so
not Minnesotians. No.
Oh, there's plenty of them here too.
Oh yeah.
Let's hear more what they say here.
Keep in mind those in prison, as though you were imprisoned with them. How can we keep our imprisoned brothers and sisters in mind? If we live close by, there may be practical things we can do to assist, but all of us can pray for them and their family members every day.
Yeah. Wonder what would happen if no one prayed for them.
They would die.
If we assume that God is real, Jehovah is real, and he selected his favorite printing company in 1919, and one of them is faithfully in jail, and then all of the other Jehovah Witnesses forget to pray, what would God do? Would God forget him? Because then it's a crappy God. But if he would do it anyway, then prayer is not necessary. Then it's just a waste of time to prevent you from thinking your own independent thoughts.
And it's not only Jehovah's Witnesses. It's all kind of religious people and Christians praying to their gods. Can you imagine that in this case, Jehovah God is sitting up in the sky, waiting for prayers to do something for his own people? So, I would really like to help this person out of the prison or a sick witness. I have to wait till, let's say, 15,000 prayers. And then after 15,000 prayers, then I will react. It's such a strange idea, but we believed it when we were Jehovah's Witnesses. We really believed it.
That's why it took 5 years. Shame on you, Jehovah Witnesses. If you would have prayed, it out. If you would have done a little more praying.
Sounds like more Jehovah's Witnesses needed to spend more time on their knees.
Yeah,
it does. And what about, was it over 20,000 Jehovah's Witnesses who died during COVID, the pandemic? Over 20,000, I think so. And what about all those people who died? Did they not pray enough for them?
Yeah, they had, I think it was, I want to say about 5 times the mortality rate of the average within the U.S. is what the Jehovah's Witnesses had.
Is that true? Yeah. How come?
I would have to confirm that, but I believe it was 5 times.
Yeah.
Let me know you have a problem with your camera again, so I mute you while you.
Oh my God!
You cursing. Because we had this problem before, and as soon as he working with the camera, he started cursing in Danish. So now let's move on here with letters from sisters of the brotherhood. Because he gets help from the brotherhood, but I'm pretty sure his sisters may be doing all those letters.
The main theme of this letter is how Satan uses one of his most effective weapons, discouragement. I started applying the counsel on that subject straight away. And that helped me to come out of that state of mind and get rid of negative thoughts.
And I kept asking myself why I was constantly being moved around. Couldn't I just be left in one cell? And at that moment, I received a letter in which a sister wrote the phrase, "If you move from one cell to another, view it as being assigned with a new territory, as you have completed the previous one."
Someone sent this portrait, for example. It's my wife, Natasha, and I, sitting in Jehovah's hands. All the spiritual food we got was in the letters, to the extent that even the entire 3-day convention was written out and sent to us in letters.
Wow.
Yeah.
They wrote down the whole convention.
Yeah, in separate letters.
That's nice.
Jesus Christ. that takes a lot of effort.
I was thinking about being at a convention physically, how boring it is. And imagine how even more boring it must be to read it in letters.
How boring is it to transcribe that shit? Like being the person that actually wrote it out.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
no, my camera.
Now he start cursing again in Danish. So we'll just mute him and.
Hey, I don't know any Danish curses. Maybe we need to keep him on the air. I
can teach you.
All right, perfect.
So the thing is, this post was called like help from the brotherhood and the organization. But if you look at these letters, I'm 99.9% sure that all of them were written by sisters. You get all these flowers and paintings and stuff like that, fluffy duffy, which is a nice thing. I don't mean anything wrong. I'm just, why don't they call it letters from the sisters? Why do they call it from the organization when it's not from the organization? And secondly, what if the sisters weren't wearing head covering while they write? Because according to Jehovah Witness, if a sister is not allowed to tell anything to a male, basically, if it's about spiritual things. And in this case, she told him that if they do this and this, you should see it in this and this manner. Well, what if she didn't have a head covering? Aha!
Now she's in trouble. Yeah, you would think
Yeah,
that
because
would
then
be
the
required.
angels get confused. It's in the Bible. The angels get confused if there's too many sisters with, I don't know, something about that. But there's a lot of nice Jehovah Witnesses writing the letters. We have to give, and I want to show this also, because if you remember Australian Royal Commission, Geoffrey Jackson did everything to stay away from that, and he would just be questioned, and he didn't want to do that. And that's why I respected Jehovah Witnesses like I respected Russians. I don't respect Putin. I don't respect governing body. I don't respect Hitler. And I don't like assholes in general. But these people, they are nice. You see?
Right.
Because when they go here,
as well.
they put their neck on the line. But they do it. And I respect them. Let's see.
For the first few times when brothers and sisters came for the hearings on the measures of restriction, the FSB would write down their names and then hand them orders to appear for interrogation. Then we would arrive for the next hearing and see the same brothers and sisters there, and that really strengthened us. We saw that they were not afraid and that they sincerely wanted to support us.
Yeah. What do you say?
So I guess maybe I missed what they were doing there. So they went to the trial, and then the ones that were going to represent the witnesses were being taken in for interrogation and then being held. Is that what I'm?
What they did is, if you go to, let's say that a famous terrorist would be persecuted in court, and you go there and show your support to him, obviously the CIA would write up your name, you know.
Yes.
If you go there and voice your support of Osama bin Laden, if he would have a fair trial, you know, so, or anything like that. So their names were taken up and they were taken to interrogation.
Gotcha.
And that shows courage, and I respect that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you said, they're the ones putting their neck on the line, and I feel bad for them as well. They're victims. They're the ones being manipulated and being used by a cult to, and again, in these instances, for PR. It's means of bringing up more recruits. So, yeah, it's a disgusting use of literally human resources.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to always try to see the nice things the rank and file Jehovah Witness do. Otherwise, we would end up as bitter and angry apostate, just complaining about everything. Like they would have made this drawing of him and in this Jehovah hand. You know, they're really nice people.
They are. Most of them.
Yeah, I've got nothing against the rank and file. It's the leadership.
No, but imagine Geoffrey Jackson, elected by God, get bravery inserted through Holy Spirit, and still he can't be in the Australian Royal Commission. You know, that's a situation where he is in control. He's in control of writing the elders book. He's in control to see all the dirty laundry, and still he don't want to answer questions. While these Jehovah Witnesses, they're kept in the dark, but they show real bravery. Kudos to them. True. And not to...
Well, the whole period of persecution.
Yeah.
No, just the point that, again, they're the ones that putting their necks. If you were to ask one of the rank and file, who is the only true source of, of truth in the world, and who is the only one dispensing that? Well, it's only Jehovah and through the governing body. But then you have Geoffrey Jackson saying, well, it'd be pretty presumptuous of us to say that we're the only ones. So, yeah. Yeah,
I can give you some little inside information from Russia that I actually know that I was thinking about making a video about, but because it's an interesting thing. But I'll just tell you now, all the videos, all the stories we heard about persecution, it was always that the brother was arrested and they would torture him, intimidate him, and all of that to give names of other brothers, give names. They wanted names. And when Watchtower, and that's obviously in old Soviet, that was a thing, tell on everyone else, give us names. So when Watchtower said to the witnesses that now we should have a letter writing campaign to the Russian authorities to complain about this, a lot of Russian brothers refuse to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If they want names, I'm not giving them mine. I'm not putting my name on a letter. There was a lot of Jehovah Witnesses in Russia that refused to take part in that letter writing campaign.
I believe that.
And it
I
makes
tried
sense
not
because
to,
what
and
we
yeah,
was
we did.
taught, that if there's persecution, we should go, we should hide. I remember I had, when I was a young brother, I had this jacket I can turn inside out, so it had a new color. So as soon as there was persecution, I could turn it out inside out every second door, We should go under the radar. And then all of a sudden, when all this real estate involved, and watchdog say, no, put your name on paper and send it to the KGB, FSB.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Russian witnesses refused to take part in the letter writing campaign.
Mm-hmm.
They've got my information on file. I didn't want to, and had it not been for my ex-wife, but no, we did. We wrote letters. I think there was 6 officials that it was sent to. So
yeah.
So, it would be interesting to see how many letters from around the world they received in 2018 when they had the new law. I mean, if you ask 8.5 million people to write just one letter each to Russian, to Putin, or to the High Court, and so it must really pluck the postal system. It's actually a good weapon. It's a strong weapon.
It is, and it also show, if you persecute us, you need to build more prisons.
Yeah.
We're 100,000 people that are willing to go to jail. It's a way of sabotaging the system. Just say, okay, if you put one in jail, we all 100,000 of us. More people than you actually can arrest.
But the interesting thing is that I don't know if you know that, Jonas or Tyler, but a year or two before that, this law against Jehovah's Witnesses as an extreme group came up in Russia, they knew in the Watchtower Society that this was going to happen. So what did they do? Did they warn Dennis Christensen and other brothers? Did they warn them in advance and say, get out of there, you're going to be persecuted? No. They sold and they transferred all their belongings, their kingdom halls and so on. Even in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, you have a lot of buildings that was transferred onto the Scandinavian countries. And I know that for sure. So
I
they knew
never
that.
Thought about that. That's disgusting.
It's money makes the world go around. So they knew that. What were they protecting? All their buildings and the money. And of course, they wanted Dennis Christensen to be a martyr, so they can use him. He's a good guy for them.
Yeah, it's obviously scripted, this walk he had through the airport. It must be scripted.
Yeah,
it was very well done. And why would he have the uniform?
I said, it was just the last week, and I live only 3-4 kilometers from the airport. I should have gone there, but I did not know about it until afterwards. They wrote about it in the newspapers.
Yeah, he had kind of a tan. This is how Scandinavians look. We're white and pink, best case scenario. He had a tan, it's not like he came. I'm guessing now, if Dennis is watching this, no offense, he's like
not.
That guy. But it seems like he's been out of jail and got a lot of sunshine, and then still he put on this uniform that I really don't think you're supposed to take out of prison. So maybe Watchtower made him one for the event. The whole idea with the prison uniform is that they're only in the prison, so there will be no mix-up. So I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to take it outside because, security reasons. So I don't know.
But I'm he's out on vacations getting tan.
That's the two questions a journalist should ask him. The first one, you mentioned your family. How's your mother doing? That's the first question, and then the second one would be, why are you still wearing that suit from prison?
Yeah.
Two direct questions.
To be fair, if I would have been in Russian prison, I would wear the uniform all the time. It's
Still, he looks more handsome and more modern than in his suit. I like that suit from the prison. It's
that's like a flattering prison uniform. I wonder if that's what the real prison uniform looks like.
Not like in the States, orange.
The other brothers, they were shown in their uniform, and they looked completely different. But there's different oblasts and different prisons, so I wouldn't read anything in. But they also had this name tag. The same. So, my guess would be that Watchtower made him a uniform, or he bribed someone to take it.
Now you're guessing, Jonas. Yeah, I think it's original.
It was probably you think it was original, Frank?
I think it's original.
I think it's original.
Yeah.
Really? I think some J-Dub Taylor made it.
You think so?
That's my theory.
Yeah.
How can we prove
But anyway, it was.
We have to ask him.
Get him on the line. Come on, Frank.
Let's see the two brothers what they're saying.
Throughout the whole period of persecution, I was strengthened by the words of Jeremiah 48:10. Cursed is the one who carries out the mission of Jehovah neglectfully.
That's a really nice encouragement. Cursed be the one.
The thing that always strengthened me throughout the whole time was the scripture at Isaiah 57, verse 15. And the thought that Jehovah lives with those who are crushed and who are in a bad place emotionally. At such times, I was able to imagine Jehovah sitting right next to me and stroking my shoulder and reassuring me that everything will be fine. I am with you. I have seen that all the trials that have been allowed, despite their difficulty, Jehovah has turned them all into blessings.
Oh, isn't that nice? Yeah. Actually, watching this, I feel like I would like to go back to Jehovah's Witnesses again.
Did anyone catch what blessings it was? He said all the crap turned into blessings.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they are.
No, they quite often forget to. Yeah, I told you, always look for what they don't say. They say it turned into blessings. What blessings? Blessings.
Yeah, can you
his
tell
freedom?
Me one?
His freedom is a blessing for him.
Yeah. After jail, I got out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's what happens when you serve your sentence. You get out.
I like the earlier interview. He said the worst thing with prison was being in the cell.
Yeah. What's the meaning going to prison if you're not going to the cell?
Like
not being raped.
Yeah, I would think the worst of it would be going down on Jehovah, but
going down on your knees for Jehovah.
Going down on your knees for Jehovah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
dropping some soap.
They're not treated like they should be in Russian prison. So
I don't know. Never been there. But when I'm watching this and the similar videos on JW.org, I sometimes thinking, well, this could be as a website for the Mormons or for any other Christian denomination. It's the same bullshit all over. If it were some Mormons, I don't know if they're maybe also forbidden in Russia. They're not. Okay, but if
they're not allowed to preach.
They're not allowed to preach.
But they still say missionaries as volunteers for human aid or something.
Yeah. But still, Jonas, if you watch the Mormon, I don't know what their website is called. Mormon.org. LDS.com or whatever. It's the same thing. It's like the Jehovah's Witnesses has been looking over their shoulders and saying, we're gonna make something similar, because the Mormons started their website a few years before. So I think JW.org has been looking over their shoulders and saying, we're gonna make something similar. And it is very close to the way they perform on the website for the Mormons. It's very close. And if this would be a person who has been persecuted in China, maybe, or another place, they would make it 1-to-1, totally similar. So, but it's good for them. It's strengthening their faith in this faith called Jehovah's Witnesses. But you could use the same recipe for all other denominations. It's very
I've done that in my YouTube videos sometimes, that I just take Mormon propaganda, and so I'm making a rebuttal for JW broadcasting.
Okay.
And then I just mix Mormon propaganda. So the sound is Jehovah Witnesses. So when I prayed to God and there was a knock on the door and I opened the door, and so the pictures are just from Mormon. So when you open the door, there's two guys with those name tags. But the audio can be from jw.org and the video from.
No, I'm gonna.
And it still
have to
works.
watch that. It's funny. It's a good
There's some
idea.
cultural differences. Like Mormons obviously don't drink coffee, but they play a lot of basketball. And but so like Jehovah Witnesses don't show as much organized sport. Maybe they kick a football like in a very way that we don't care who wins, and it's obvious to everyone. Should see Mormons playing basketball. It's like jihad. They basically kill each other. So
yeah, I'd have trouble being a Mormon. I like my coffee too much. It's a problem.
yeah.
I like
So
the
let's
Mormons'
see here.
holy underwear.
I actually have a so I work in mental health, and I have a client that I work with clients in their homes, and I have one who lives. The first time I went to this client and sat down in their living room, they've got a big picture window, and it looks out across the street, the Church of Scientology in St. Paul. Huge sign. I'm like, son of a bitch. I can't get away from cults wherever I go. But one of these days, like when I get done meeting with that client, I told him, I'm like, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to walk across the street, and I'm just going to walk in. I'm going to knock on the door, and I'm going to ask him to show me around, because I want to see what's going on inside that building. It's a huge, huge building. So, yeah, side note there.
Yeah, they're better than us with money.
They're much more well off.
Yeah, but just a fun fact about the Mormon website. So I spend a little too much time there, but I think if you click like 14 clicks, you can find their dirty secrets, but they're almost impossible to find. But you can find them for legal reasons. So if you join the Mormon church, you give them 10% of your earning because it's God's one true religion. And then you find out that, well, the so-called prophet had sex with 14-year-old girls. You know, he sent their parents on a mission to Europe, and then he had sex with their children while they were gone. And you said, I want my money back. Then they will say, well, if you would have clicked here, you would have found information. So they have the dirty information on the webpage. I've seen the Watchtower start doing the same to air out their dirty laundry, but it's almost impossible to see it if you don't. But it's done in a way so they can argue in court that, oh, we told everyone about this.
Yeah, I know you can actually you can get back to some of Rutherford's statements on when Millions Now Living Will Never Die, when that fell through. There's actually documentation on jw.org where Rutherford says, I made an ass of myself.
Yeah, it's true.
And so
I read that.
But yeah, it's so yeah, if you look, you can find some of it, but most of it's fairly well hidden.
It was from a yearbook. It was from another governing body member who was talking about his life as a Jehovah's Witnesses, and he knew Brother Rutherford personally, and he told that story. I think it was 1973 yearbook. Yeah.
Yeah, it was to showcase how humble Rutherford was, I'm assuming, probably. Like, I'm guessing, oh yeah, I made an ass of myself. I made a mistake.
It's a controlled leak. You know, you have some dirty information, and you leak it in a way that sounds good.
Yeah.
Obviously,
And I
that's
think
what
that was
Mormons always do. It's called
I think that
the
was republished in
Gospel
the Proclaimers
Topics
book.
if you're looking for them, but don't go to the website because it's impossible. You just have to Google and find the ex-Mormon group, and they will give you the direct link because it's built like a maze and you're not supposed to find it.
/ dirty secrets.
Speaking of joy, what a blessing it has been for us to return to in-person meetings.
Oh,
It takes some effort to attend, but seeing our brothers and sisters, hearing their laughter, joining with them in song and prayer makes the effort so worthwhile. It's another gift from Jehovah to help us joyfully endure. Welcome, brothers and
I miss
sisters.
it so much.
It's another gift from.
It's another gift for help us joyfully endure. If there's one thing you have to endure as a Jehovah Witness, it would be the meetings.
Yeah.
No
But the
shit.
meeting help you endure.
Yeah. I've seen pictures and 1984. They're saying I made an ass
Thank
out
you,
of myself.
Daniel.
I think it was also republished in the Proclaimers book, if I'm not mistaken. But I would have to look at that again. But yeah, going back to in-person meetings. I mean, I saw pictures of my kids back at in-person meeting a few weeks ago, and so it just now seeing like the inside of a Kingdom Hall again, it just looks and feels so culty. And I don't, like you said, the endurance is a complete load of BS because they're not being persecuted to an extreme degree. It's just, like I said, it's all propaganda.
Yeah.
Is that so?
Here it says, how do I get my donations back from the JW org? I think we see some of the donations here on Brother's left arm, is it? It's a pretty
Left
nice
arm.
watch.
I don't know. But I would like to know if you could get your donations back from the org. I don't know about you guys, but in total, how much money do you think in your time as Jehovah's Witnesses, in total, approximately, how much did you donate? If you count the years and approximately every month, how much
Very
money
little.
would that be? Very little, Tyler. Did you not donate so much?
No, I always hated it. And to be fair, my ex-wife did a pretty good job of keeping us strapped financially very well. And so we often didn't have much excess money, but even when I did, it was, I don't know, it never felt right. I never felt compelled to do it. So I would, being the JW and wanting people to see shit, I would, every now and again, I'd give my kids a couple bucks, be like, here, go put that in the box. That'll look good. So you do stuff like that. But no, I would say less than $500 in my lifetime.
Okay. How many years?
I left when I was 38. So
Okay.
I left 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I think 500 is probably a stretch. I would actually like to say probably less than 100 or 2, but yeah.
I was in the category here, like Mrs. So much more. $100 a month.
No.
Yeah, $100 a month.
But there were some
the same.
Mm-hmm.
And we were living as window cleaners. We were cleaning window one day a week.
Yeah, like I said, I had a friend who was the, they were the account servant. And so I saw the donations because just about every meeting he would say, you want to come help me count donations? Yep, sure. And so we would go and we would sit there and we would count donations. And yeah, there were several families that every month there would be a check for $300 to the Worldwide Work, a check for $300 to local. And I just I'd shake my head. I'm like, how the fuck do you donate that much money? It just blows my mind. And I think a lot of them were trying to stick to that whole 10% shit. But
in Denmark, I remember I had a guest in my podcast telling that in a congregation somewhere far away from Copenhagen, there were a brother who donated, I don't know the exact amount, but it was, he had a big company and he was very wealthy. And because he donated so much money, the elders didn't touch him. And he could say anything. He could raise his hand in the middle of a watchtower study and saying directly, I don't believe this, the governing body, and they shouldn't say that they are talking for God. He was very public about it, and nobody touched him. Nobody, because he donated so much money.
I believe that. I believe that is stuff like, because there's a lot of weird stuff that happened.
Yeah, it does. He was very direct about the governing body. He did not believe them.
Yeah.
Money makes the world go round. That's it.
So, in conclusion, what do you think about the governing body update? Do you agree with me that this was like a 15-minute of talking about prison, and then, by the way, you have to sit in Kingdom Hall for 2 hours, and it doesn't sound so bad? I think they used that comparison fallacy.
The word propaganda is popping up in my mind again and again and again. And I must say, it seems like you, Tyler, also saw that letter that Jonas showed about donating to JW.org and not directly to Ukrainian brothers and sisters privately. I was a little surprised about that. It really shows how they are showing all this to go to the brothers' emotion so they can donate more and more money. It's only because of that. I must say I'm a little bit not shocked. Nothing can shock me in that organization, but writing directly, please do not make private arrangements. That was really an eye-opener in this case. Yeah.
Well, and the point that you made too, like you feel if you, like I said, if you've made friends in Ukraine and now you email them back and forth and you text back and forth, and now they're being invaded and you can't do anything to help. It makes you look like an asshole, and it's just a bad look all around. So I don't know. And again, it shows the level of control that they want to maintain, over their members, to the point where don't even trust yourself to Venmo somebody in Ukraine $100. Just give us the money.
If there's some Jehovah Witness watching this, thank you very much for doing that. But please leave a message, a comment, and explain this. There's a place in the Bible says that you should not be the master of someone else's faith. And how does this go with the Watchtower telling me or you that you should not give a gift to another human being in need? So don't think about the fact that if you give it to Watchtower can use it for something completely different. And I would say that they go beyond what is ethically when they don't give that little disclaimer that when you give to JW Donate, we might use it to something completely different than helping people. So I would say that this, but never mind that. Just the part of don't be master of someone else's faith. If someone I want to do something good for a worldly, gay, communist, gypsy in the Ukraine, and they say no, who gave them the authority to say to the Good Samaritan that no, give the money to us and we use it as we seem.
Wouldn't that have been a whole hell of a lot like giving the money to
that?
Yeah,
if you have a good explanation, I'll come back to Jehovah.
I won't, but I would still like to hear the explanation. But yeah, it sounds a whole hell of a lot like the rabbi that kind of snuck around the corner and didn't go back. That would be like giving that rabbi that money and saying, hey, when you get down the hill, would you mind sending that shit back up here to this guy? He's all fucked up on the side of the road. Like, I don't know. It's all just stupid.
Yeah.
And you lured me into this, Jonas. I joined this live broadcast because I thought that you and Tyler were actually Jehovah's Witnesses, and you would like to convince me to go back. And I must say that you have not succeeded.
Okay.
What makes you think that I'm not a witness there, Frank?
Let's go with the CC top beard as one thing, and
Yeah.
your use of the word fuck.
That's
But otherwise, you seem like a very nice guy.
Well, I appreciate that. Likewise.
Thank you.
I just have a beard section. No, thank you very much. This was, I had to crawl the internet to find some punish. Normally I try to find like a mix of brothers and sisters, because obviously that makes it more nice, but this is nice too. So
I did reach out to a couple ex JW sisters to see if they would be able to help. But to be fair, this was pretty last minute even for me. But I was super glad to jump on, and so was not able to find any more diversity. But hopefully next time.
Yeah, it's good. It was very interesting.
Yes. So okay. So thank you for helping me, and see you in paradise.